Hello, all you little gardeners out there. Welcome to Erico Blueberry. It's an unassuming Destiny podcast. My name is chillybin.
Time to pick some flowers and light the bonfires.
And maybe
It's
get
Meckii.
a little kiss from a rose, on the grey, if you like.
Great.
All right, elephant in the room. We didn't do an episode last week because a bunch of fucking layoffs happened. I hope we're past the amount of time where I can say fuck. I don't care. I'm saying it. Bungie, I'm gonna get the numbers right here. Put out a post saying that they had made the quote difficult decision to eliminate 220 roles at Bungie. What ensued was a ton of reporters, rightfully so, trying to get more details. The statement from Pete Parsons was honestly fucking bullshit. You heard me,
dog
Pete.
Shit.
Just classic big executive, like vague language. It's not my fault. It's clearly we spent too much money during the pandemic. It's like, no, idiot. You did that after everybody had figured the shit out. You made bad decisions.
Did you?
You're punishing the workers.
Did you, Mr. Retro Carman?
We'll get to that. So normally here on Erico Blueberry, we like to keep things positive. We like to, not be just slinging barbs around. We try to focus on the lore and stuff that we enjoy. But this is, there's been layoffs before. This one in particular, I don't know. It's stung. Like coming off the back of the final shape being this like resounding success, the impact of ending this 10-year story and like all of the accolades and all of the success and all the money and the players and everything going right after they had to delay it by like 5 months in order for that to pay off. And then what are we, like 2 months post-release? And they are axing, for example, the narrative lead on the final shape, Robert Brooks. Believe that was like a lot of his kind of leadership, right? And it's just like, make it make sense. Like, how do you have this product come out and everybody is like, yo, Destiny is back, look at this shit, and then you go, cool, 220 people now don't have a job. How do you do that?
And it's kind of crazy that they let go of so same as the last layoffs, I've been keeping an eye out for people who have said, hey, I was laid off, here's my portfolio. I try and retweet everyone I see and then also post it into our chat. Jason Schreier is a journalist who was digging for information. Sony's Bungie is shrinking from 1,300 to 850 people.
Yeah.
220 laid off, 155 are being moved to Sony, and 75 approximately being moved to a new studio. Obviously, journalism, hearsay, take what you will.
Schreier, to his credit, is like usually pretty reliable.
Pretty good.
He's like had long established sources in a ton of different spots.
Yeah. People like Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy were laid off.
Luke Smith getting axed is the one that caught me because like his name has been around as long as I've been paying attention to Destiny, and like he's been in some like I think executive producer role or something, but like he's been a pretty big force as far as I understand it behind like driving the vision of Destiny as a concept and like the type of game that it is. And for him to just like be gone is crazy.
So just some extra information that came out was Bungie had a project simply called Payback, which a lot of people were theorizing was Destiny 3's codename.
I've also heard people say Payday.
Yeah. So what had happened and what was clarified at a later date was apparently Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy were let go as part of Payback's cancellation. The project was cancelled. And with restructuring, it meant that they had no path forward at Bungie.
I've seen that before.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah, but I believe Payback /Payday was supposed to be some like new game or like franchise within the Destiny universe, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah. And then they further go on to clarify that Payback is instead a new sci-fi project that will be developed at an internal studio being set up at PlayStation.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So there's part of this where, you know, the story when Sony acquired Bungie, was it last year or the year before?
yeah, but then
But like
I think the year
anyway,
before.
to finish that thought, like part of the story was Sony wants to get good at making live service games. They bought Bungie because they've clearly figured a version of that out. And when something like that happens, you can think, oh yeah, that makes sense. They're gonna like learn from how they do things, spread that knowledge throughout their studios, and like maybe that kind of works out eventually. Where it gets complicated is that is just not the type of game Sony makes. They make these big blockbusters, they put a ton of money into it. It is essentially cinema with a video game controller attached. It is not necessarily compatible with the idea of a live service game where you're putting out like tons of little updates all the time. Like they like to do the big bang, here's a God of War, right? Like here's a fucking Uncharted, here's a Last of Us, whatever it is. I don't know that it even makes sense anymore why they wanted to do live service so hard. And they tried a bunch of projects and fucking cancelled all of them, right? And then they just lay people off. And that is, this is not what that is, but like that is what has happened within Sony as far as I know.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy to me because just to like sidetrack a little bit, The Last of Us, the original one, was meant to have a live service component to it. There was meant to be a game that continued beyond the game, and then that eventually just turned into multiplayer, online multiplayer.
Was it like when I
which
first
I mean,
when I first saw
I
what
spent
Last
a
of
lot of
Us
hours into WoW online,
no, but like
so
when I first saw what Last of Us was, I'm like, how is there even a multiplayer thing of this? Like it is so clearly a story driven game. What even is the multiplayer?
Fireflies versus what was the other team?
Exactly.
Government.
They put fucking
I always played the Fireflies, so like I didn't
fucking
care.
EA put multiplayer in Mass Effect 3. Why? That's not a game that needs multiplayer. It's just greed.
It's weird, yeah. But like Talau was meant to have a online component similar to GTA 5 Online, for example.
Yeah.
Where you were meant to be able to continue in the world after the story. But they acquired them for those stated purposes. And then we had layoffs. And then the way they were talking was like, oh, we're done now. Like this was just cleaning up the business post acquisition. We're good to go. And then, yeah, like you said, for the final shape to be so acclaimed and such a success, especially after their recent fumbles.
Yeah.
Like as much as we love the game and we love the story and we did what we could with what we were given, they were in the grand scheme of Destiny's timeline fumbles. They fumbled it a little bit.
Yeah. Just little bits here and there, right? It wasn't like catastrophic, but it was like, this is clearly not what they wanted.
People shit on Lightfall, and like in retrospect, compared to what we've gotten since then, it's like, it's probably my least favorite expansion. But like the whole expansion wasn't a fumble for me.
Yeah.
There were just certain aspects where it fell flat and it felt rushed.
Yeah. And then the seasons that came that year were pretty good.
Picked up for a lot of that. It picked the ball back up and they kept running with it. But like for me, Final Shape was a 9 out of 10. Like it was so good.
I mean,
and
I don't know what else I wanted out of it, you know?
Like, yeah. And I feel like a lot of really critical Destiny players have even said, yeah, they fucking nailed it. They did a great job. So I feel like that's another reason these layoffs sting so much. And to see like notable people in the community, like the previously mentioned ones, and then we've got people like she goes by Kaylani on Twitter. She wrote the fucking wildcard mission.
Yeah. Among
which
other
is a
things.
lot of people's, among other things, but just as a primary example, which was a lot of people's favorite part of the final shape was that mission.
And narratively, such a fucking needle to thread of like, one, we're bringing Cade back in this expansion. Everyone knows that. But to then like to manage the handoff of we're gonna kill him again, but then you're gonna have to put Crow in his place and have people accept that after you've just put Cade back in front of them. Like to land that plane, such a challenge.
Yeah, and it's like for both Aldrin slash Crow and Cade to be getting closure over what happened between them, and for them to seek and give forgiveness back and forth as a part of healing, because obviously we know Cade kind of knew
Yeah.
he wasn't walking out of this. Huge,
Yeah.
massive, fucking incredible storylining.
Yeah.
So to see them go was like, even I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know.
What the Sigma?
Yeah, and so like in terms of again, just to like add a note to why this stings, like part of Parsons's statement is about like essentially trying to claim that like they put a bunch of money invested into some shit like last year or over the last couple of years that hasn't paid off, and is like trying to talk about it the same way a lot of companies did around COVID and the pandemic of like we're going to spin up all this shit, it's cheaper because everybody's working from home, we can just like try a bunch of shit. And it's like, nah dude, we've been out of that mode for like 2 years, you don't get to claim that shit anymore. This is done. Like you've just made some bad decisions, own it.
Another person who went was Amber Mihal, who was a technical producer, and they've been on a bunch of the showcase streams as well.
Yeah.
They were the one who wore the knitted hat with the brim. I don't know what they're called, but it's like a toque with a brim.
Yeah, another one.
Yeah, they're another one that's gone. DMG said some really good stuff about like moving forward and looking forward, but that must have been shocking for him coming back to the company, and then there's layoffs.
He had fucking rejoined like, I don't know, less than a month before this happened. Like it's just it boggles the mind. None of this makes any fucking sense.
Imagine rejoining and then meeting up with all your old homies and being able to work with them again, then a bunch of them get curbed.
Yeah.
But then staff started speaking up, and they're just like, hey, the work itself and my coworkers, great, but I had interactions with Pete Parsons that left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
Apparently he did not make a lot of good first impressions when he took over. And then someone revealed that he spent $2.9 million in the last 12 months on retro vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah. And
which
at that point
sucks,
like,
because that is paychecks.
That is like
he is earning enough to spend that, and he's sitting there going, we just don't have enough money, knowing that he has 2.9, approximately $3 million worth of retro vehicles, and he's living cushy while some of the staff that he's just laid off live paycheck to paycheck before being laid off.
I have negative sympathy for that man. Like, frankly, get fucked. If you just... And like, I know that he is not making his own decisions about what he gets paid. That is not on him. That is a problem across like capitalism. Essentially. Like, why are people in this kind of position getting paid this much to do so fucking little of value? Like, you can't figure this problem out. Like, pay yourself less, keep those people. They clearly provide value to the thing that makes your company money.
And that's the thing, like, I can't remember the name of the company, but there was another company in tech recently where the CEO took a major pay cut.
So
to keep things afloat.
Those stories are always a bit of a misnomer. And when it happened with Nintendo, that's kind of like the big example. Like, that's because there are laws in Japan that kind of force that to happen. And there have been some cases in the US, but largely those are marketing stunts and not actually the truth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is a dark world that we fucking live in. Just greed. That's all it is. And this is where it gets into like, so like we can sit here in Australia, which has like pretty good employment protections. Bungie is based in Washington, which is an at-will employment state, which means they can fire you on the spot without cause. So all of this sort of shit is perfectly fucking legal. And that's the worst part of this, is they basically don't have protections because they didn't have an employee union established. There might have been people that were in like industry unions, but there's only so much that can do. The US is a fucking nightmare.
And then also, like, a lot of these people moved to a very expensive state and
Yes.
city to live in,
Yep.
to work there. And now what?
Yeah.
And it's not like California where there's a bunch of game studios that they could easily like relocate to or apply at. This is like,
Yeah. You want to know the darkest tweet that I saw, and I didn't even think to put it in the notes, but there was a woman at Bungie who had been laid off, and her like maternity leave cover was supposed to start in a couple of weeks. You lose that. You have no recourse. You just don't get that. You are now
a lot of them are losing.
You are now about to give birth. You don't have a job. You have fucking nothing.
A lot of them are losing their fucking health cover too.
Yeah.
Because of the US.
Yeah. That's
like, it's so easy to sit here. Like, I see a lot of people who come from countries like Australia and the UK where they're looking at these layoffs and going, just get another fucking job. It's
the whole industry is
not
fucked. All of game development is fucked right now.
But industry aside, it's if you're listening from Australia or England, it's not as simple in the US as, oh, you lose your job, it'll be fine. You'll have the government. Like,
no.
They don't have job seeker if you're from Australia.
I mean, let's be clear. Let's be clear. Even in Australia, the government doesn't want poor people to exist. The government doesn't want unemployed people to exist.
But there's less of a safety net in the US.
Definitely.
Especially because when you consider, like, a lot of them are going to lose their health cover.
Yep.
And when you think about a lot of the people at Bungie who are disabled or chronically ill, because Bungie was a inclusive workplace, they state, that's some people's medication.
Mm-hmm.
That's some people's diabetes medication. Now, $400 for a vial of insulin instead of whatever the Bungie's Medicaid or whatever they use covered.
Yeah,
it's a lot heavier than. It's a lot heavier than, oops, you lost your job. In a lot of people's cases, they've lost their home, they've lost their medical coverage, they've lost leave, they've lost everything. They don't get a payout like in some countries we do.
Yeah, it's just fucking, like, it's inhuman. It is so toxic, all of it, and like completely avoidable. Pay Pete Parsons less, spread that money around. Like, and I'm sure it's not just Pete Parsons. I'm sure there are people at like upper management within Bungie that are like on inflated salaries, whatever. Cut them all down.
But to me, it also feels like Sony could have done something.
Yeah, they have. They've moved 150 people to other Sony studios. Like, that's not why people join Bungie, right? Like, people join Bungie because of whatever reason. But like, it was a like destination place to work as far as game development goes in the US.
Yeah, and it was an inclusive workplace. They were passionate about their project. They're an old gaming company, like they have a legacy. From what I was seeing, and I'll bring it up again because to me it's very important. There are people who were laid off who was like, hey, Bungie had one of the best fucking health insurance plans in the gaming industry.
I don't have it
now. They
were
taking care of their staff.
Yeah.
So some of them might only have 30 days to take advantage of that healthcare coverage now, for example.
Yeah. The way that health cover works when you quit or are made to leave a job is mental. Like, you get some coverage for a bit, but like all of it's just different everywhere. I can't get my head around the way the US functions, dude.
From my understanding, in the US, they don't get their leave paid out the way we do.
And so much of this differs state to state as well. That's where it's like, I'll hear one story, be like, oh, that sounds bad. And then it's like, no, it's worse over here though, for different reasons. It's like, what are you people
Yeah, like
doing?
if you're in New York, yes, you'll die.
Yeah, pretty
Um,
much.
there may be some American listeners who don't understand, but just the reason we're like that's fucked is because, for example, if you are made redundant or laid off here, you get your leave paid out. There
Yeah,
is redundancy.
there's guaranteed minimums that help you stay
Yeah,
alive,
you
essentially.
get redundancy pay. Um, you are eligible, but whether they approve you or not is a different story, to apply for benefits from our government if you're made jobless or redundant. We have subsidized healthcare, so we don't have to worry about healthcare if we're jobless. Um, we have a lot of fallbacks that I feel like a lot of people in countries like the UK and here who do have these fallback, these quote unquote safety nets,
Mhm.
are like, oh, you just lost your job. But it's like, no,
Yeah,
it's more than that.
there are also these things in Australia referred to as like employment awards, which is a confusing name, but it's basically like for every industry that you can work in Australia, there are a set of legal obligations determined by the Fair Work Commission. I believe it's a commission, might be the ombudsman, something or other. Fair Work, essentially. And it will have clauses in there for like what happens if the company is doing a restructure and what they have to do and how they have to communicate about it and all this sort of shit. And that is just like across the board
We
nationally. It
we
doesn't differ state to state. It is federal government. It is at the top level down.
Yeah. And that's why the redundancies are also like so fucked. Like they're fucked either way, but like looking at it from our perspective where we do have quite a lot of like privilege,
Mm.
um at will is a crazy fucking law to me.
Yeah.
Coming from a country that we have fair work laws, we have like government protection.
Mm-hmm.
They can't just lay you off because
No.
they feel like it
No.
or they quote unquote need to. They have to give you 2 weeks notice, and then you've also got a bunch of payouts that you're entitled to in terms of like unused leave, bonuses,
Mm-hmm.
like time in lieu. Um, and redundancies are never really just a straight up redundancy. They usually offer you a different role in the company if they can. And we have a rule in Australia that if they make your role redundant, they can't rehire for the role for 12 months or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. I've seen that come up before of like people being like through a restructure being forced out because their job doesn't exist anymore. And then you see roles advertised by the company that are like close enough that it's like, I can't afford a lawyer good enough to have them up for this, but
Yeah.
like it's dicey.
Yeah. So even from a point of privilege, I get really fucking pissed off when I see people from countries like Australia who are just like, oh, big deal, you lost your job.
Yeah, no.
And it's like, we know we've got some Aussie listeners, and it's like, no, it's not just they lost their job. They lost a lot more than their job, and
Yeah.
some of them are probably going to have to move home, move states, go back to their home
If
state,
they can.
find share housing.
Yeah.
Because even then, like in a development studio like Bungie, those lower, not lower, but lower pay grades in this economy, in that city, they're 100% going to be living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And that's gone now.
Yeah.
So, like, where do they pay their rent? How do they move home? Like, it's got me. I'm so just
Yeah.
upset.
Yeah.
But I'm disappointed in Bungie, but I'm like, I guess just empathetic, and I'm very upset and heartbroken for all the people that lost their jobs. Even the ones who got moved out of Bungie into a different studio, yeah, their job is safe.
It's not what
But like,
not
is
what you
that what
signed
they
up
wanted?
for. Yeah.
Were they a rock and a hard place? If I don't take this role in this new studio or at Sony,
Yeah.
like where am I going to end up?
Yeah, but also like how do you not
it crushes me.
Again, like Robert Brooks as an example, like been there for what 5 years, has been a narrative lead on tons of shit. How is he not one of the ones that get moved to some other Sony studio to help them build up that expertise? Like you had someone of that caliber and you just let him go.
Or he could have been one of the ones who said, "No, get fucked. I'm not going to another studio. I'll just take the
no job and
go."
no severance. Just fucking see you later.
there are potentially some people who were offered the transition and said, no, get fucked. I
Yeah.
want to work for Bungie.
Yeah.
Or felt so betrayed by everything happening that they said no.
Yeah, that could have been.
Fuck
Because I
Sony.
don't think he in particular has come out and like said much about it, to be fair.
Yeah. You know, there's probably a bunch of people that they were offered to transition. They were like, no, get fucked. Fuck Sony. We've got 2 layoffs under them now.
Yeah. But
Why
also,
the fuck
like,
would I want to go over there?
I've just looked at one of these Jason Schreier tweets again that includes a quote from Pete Parsons that is, we were overly ambitious. Our financial safety margins were subsequently exceeded, and we began running in the red. One, you were overly ambitious in a way that you should have known better to be. Like, a lot of companies made those mistakes in the pandemic and figured it out, and that was 2 years ago. And then our financial safety margins were exceeded. Like, what, your arbitrary goals? You put a number on a bit of paper and said, we passed that, so therefore people lose their jobs? Like, cut your own salary, dude, or get out, frankly.
Fuck Pete Parsons. I was like seeing a lot of the fuck Pete Parsons rhetoric, and then I saw the car thing and that pissed me off. And then I saw
real quick.
Then I saw the staff coming out and being like, hey, so I was literally standing there talking about using the food stamp. So apparently Bungie also offered their staff grocery vouchers or something.
Right.
One of these people was saying. So if they couldn't get their groceries for the week because they were paying rent or whatever, they could actually access a couple of services within Bungie that included like a grocery service. Like, I don't think food stamps, but I think they had access to basics through Bungie if they couldn't make ends meet that month, for example. They were standing there apparently. I won't say who it was. I saw the tweet, but she was standing there with another.
I don't think it matters who it was.
Yeah. I also don't want to like. I know she put it in public, but I don't want to put her on blast.
The story
like
doesn't change whether or not you know who this is.
Yeah. I just like to credit people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. She was saying she was standing there with another employee and talking about accessing the food service or the food bank, or they had the food or something happened. And he came up and introduced himself and then started talking about like some like first world issue he was having, and then walked off, and they had a moment where they were like, did this fucker just really have this conversation while we were standing in the food services line, like while we were waiting to get fucking bread and milk from our employer because we couldn't make ends meet this month?
Yeah.
Like,
so what I was going to say real quick, if you haven't seen it, there's a website in the US called Bring a Trailer, which is where you can, it's essentially like a car auction website, right? And somebody discovered Pete Parsons' account on there. And I'm real quick to credit where I heard this, shout out to Remap Radio, gaming sort of news podcast that I've listened to for ages. His fucking username on there includes BNG, Bungie. I don't know what the rest of it was, but they were like, yeah, it is definitely him. And they were just tracking through all of his like successful bids, i.e. cars that he purchased off of this website. And they are all like classic retro cars, like Mercedes, BMWs, like whatever it is. On one of them, again, shout out to Remap Radio for this anecdote. The comment that he left on it is, "My wife deserves this." It's like, bro, don't you think some of these people deserve their fucking jobs? My man, my guy, please.
Owning like,
why do you need so many cars, dude?
I was literally about to be like, owning so many cars in itself is a flex of wealth. Just owning more than one car, knowing that most of your staff probably bus and train their way in and out of work every day because they can't afford petrol, in America, gas. They can't they can't afford to have a car, or they live in a tiny apartment that doesn't have parking. And you're buying not only multiple cars, but very expensive multiple cars.
Yeah.
Just cause.
$500,000
just
on a car?
What
are we doing?
That is an apartment for someone.
Dude,
$500,000 is an apartment for me in Australia.
No. The amount of money he spent on cars could prop up an entire indie game development studio for a year at least. What are we doing?
The amount he spent on cars could build and sustain staff accommodation.
Mm. There's an idea, Pete. You can have that one for free. Stop firing people. Fuck.
Sell your cars.
Yes.
If you believe in the product, put your money in it. No, it's yes. Actually, yes. Fuck him.
Yeah.
I was going to say no, we're being
Here's
hyperbolic,
the
but
thing.
also fuck him.
Like, you are benefiting from its success. Maybe you should be investing, therefore, in it. I don't know. Call me crazy. But that seems like a good idea. I have one car and it's expensive.
I have
My
no
man.
car. I have no car because it is too expensive to drive and maintain and buy petrol.
Yeah.
I walk and bus everywhere. And I'm in Australia
Yeah.
where we get paid, apparently, a fair wage.
Mm.
But yeah, like, fuck Pete Parsons.
Yeah.
Yo, me and my homies hate Pete Parsons.
Yeah. Pete Parsons, if you come by this podcast, no, you didn't. Fuck off. I don't want to hear about it. Please. I'm so socialist pilled right now. Let's get him.
Instead of Nazi punks fuck off, it's car punks fuck off. Pete Parsons fuck off.
Car hoarders fuck off. You don't need that many cars, man. Where are you putting them all?
You heard it from me.
Sorry, where is he putting them all? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Is he buying a
Probably
warehouse?
$1 million garage in his $1 million house. You heard it from me and the dead Kennedys.
Pete Parsons can get fucked.
Pete Parsons, fuck off.
Yeah. All right, that felt appropriately cathartic. Is there any more that you want to get out of your system on that topic?
No, I'm just really fucking bitter and really upset, and it's not for any other reasons than I just feel so much for all the staff who were either let go or moved to a studio that they might not be happy to be moved to.
Yeah. There are
they've had their dream career at their dream company ripped away from them by some card hoarding fucking balding dickhead.
Yeah. The thing
Bald.
The core thing to remember out of all of this is there are over 200 people that are now probably struggling to make ends meet because of mismanagement at the top level. Like Pete Parsons, whatever, like it probably is not just him. It could be Sony down to Bungie, then down through Bungie's leadership. Wherever it lies, it is a failing of management that these people have lost their jobs. It is not their fault. It never is when layoffs happen. It is a failure of management to not protect against whatever the fuck they think is the reason for doing this. Yes, it's an at-will employment state. That doesn't mean you have to do it that way either. You could choose to be better, but you didn't. That is what matters.
It just, for me as well, just to cap it off, it's like, since the Sony acquisition, it feels like the things we adored Bungie for are dying. It feels like the inclusivity is not inclusive, not inclusifying.
Yeah, because that shit
Like,
doesn't make money fast enough. That's what they want.
It's their inclusivity is dying. It's the community outreach, not only just in terms of charity, but in the way that they support and promote their community.
Yeah.
We're losing faces that we've spent the last 10 years with who are the embodiment of inclusivity and progress and success at, like, obviously they aren't the sole reason, but it's like these were faces and names of people who, for example, at the beginning of Destiny, we were seeing them in videos, and then we're seeing them in videos this year, and they have blossomed into the person they were meant to be.
Yeah.
There's definitely a couple of people at like Bungie that since Destiny's inception, we've watched them transition, which we've watched them get married, have kids. We've watched them grow terrible mustaches, and shave it off,
Yeah.
and then the community asks them to put it back on.
Uh-huh.
Um, we've just and some of these faces are just gone now. And obviously it's not like they're dead. They'll pop up somewhere else. They're not
Yeah.
dying,
Yeah.
but it's I feel like a lot of for me and a lot of what is making me so bitter and heartbroken about this is it feels like a lot of the heart and soul of Bungie is
Yeah.
starting to go and it's feeling less like it used to and more like a machine.
I
It's
mean,
starting to feel like the
yeah.
cold Sony, the cold Nintendo, the cold
So yeah, what I
Xbox.
was going to ask you in this moment is think of another Sony studio. How many individual people can you name from them that aren't like, you know, like your auteur, that whoever, what's the fucking guy who's like behind The Last of Us, the main dude who is,
Neil Druckmann?
yeah, like aside from someone like that, I couldn't even remember his name, but aside from Neil Druckmann or someone of that kind of echelon, like who the fuck is a household name when it comes to Sony Studios?
You said household, but I was gonna name some people from Kojima Productions, but I'm a freak.
Uh, Is yeah, like Kojima's on this weird edge of like, is it really a Sony
Yeah, but like
studio? You know?
his artist and
Yeah,
stuff like that. And his composers and stuff like that.
that's
I
what I
know
mean.
all
Like
of that, but that's like that's a very niche thing.
that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is it feels like Bungie's being forced into this mold of every other Sony studio, where it's just an amorphous corporate blob that
That's what
pushes
I
out a
mean.
big game every year.
It's starting to feel like a machine
Mm,
again.
yeah.
It's less for For me, up until the acquisition and even a little bit after the acquisition, the only way I could describe it to a friend the other day was somehow Bungie still had that indie studio heart
Mm.
where they were excited to put a product out
And also
and they
the
were
way that Bungie talked about the acquisition was we've retained a bunch of our independence. And no, you
yeah,
fucking haven't.
you haven't. And I think that's the only way I could describe it to my friend when I was talking about it. It was like up until recently, Bungie still had the energy and the heart of like an indie
Mm.
studio, if that made sense. They were still very hands-on with their community.
Yeah.
They were still face to face with their community. They were honest to a fault sometimes with their community.
Yeah.
Um, and then they've been through so much in the last few years and didn't lose that. They went through the strike, the false strikes, staff being doxxed and harassed and having to take their staff away from the front lines, but still maintaining that like energy.
Mm.
Um, New studio being built, being relocated, and it's
Then there was a round of
doesn't feel
layoffs
like
before
that
this one too.
now.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was like I was saying earlier, they were talking about like it's not gonna happen again.
Yeah. Like we've figured out an operating rhythm and a size and a cadence that makes
We had to
sense.
do this to make sense for where we were heading as a company. It's not gonna
Yeah.
like that was just the vibe of the last
And
layoffs.
then
And then
it
they're like,
happens again 12 months later. It's like you can't say that again. You can't just
one of our biggest expansions and return to player base. Whoop.
yeah. Yeah. You don't get to
Yeah.
just pull that card again.
We can theorize on what happened and who did what and where, but it just at the end of the day, that's 220 people.
Yeah.
220 lives, and by extension, their families' lives.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, some of them,
Yeah.
we watch them have families. Like
Some of them were about to.
some of them, yeah, I was about to say, some of them are about to start families
Yeah.
and are losing their health insurance.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it
That is the
sucks.
impact. Like we can get mad at Pete Parsons and Bungie leadership, but at the end of the day, their
It's human lives.
their utter fumbles have meant over 200 people are now in a really dire spot. As far as we know, like they're not all going to go tweet and be like, "Hey, I'm actually fine." But like I would rather assume that and then be proven wrong, because like that is the impact, right? These people have lost their jobs and they're in a part of the world where that means they get fuck all else.
The economy being the way it is. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. If any of them happen across this somehow, just know that, like, Yeah, our hearts fucking break for you
Yeah.
guys. We can empathize and sympathize and like we get it
Yeah.
and it fucking sucks and we're here for you and not the management and it's your product at the end of the day that
Yeah.
we're talking about. It's your work, it's your story writing. Just fucking sucks and
Yeah.
yeah, I just
Yeah.
that's all I can say. It fucking sucks and I just at the end of the day for us it's a video game, but like
Mm.
we're pissed for the people,
Yeah.
not for the product.
Yeah. Because I think the parts of the game that we've enjoyed the most are reflections of the people that made it. Right? They are putting their hearts and souls into these stories that we go on to enjoy. And the thing to remember in all of this is the art, and in this case, the video game, the art is produced by people. It is not produced by managers. It is produced by people at the end of a reporting line, ultimately. And those are the people that should benefit the most from its success, not the people at the top who largely send emails and dick around with spreadsheets.
And
They didn't
delegate.
they didn't make shit. They should not be benefiting so disproportionately from the people that actually wrote the code, did the art, did the music, did the testing, interacted with the community, all of those different roles. They should be the ones that fucking get the
Pete,
most out of it.
Pete Parsons wasn't sitting in meetings figuring out how to make us cry.
Yeah, show me one fucking clip of that idiot in a playtesting session or anything outside of a fucking boardroom meeting or him buying a car.
At least Joe was in there.
Yeah.
At least Joe played the fucking game.
Yeah, there's like a gap between essentially like game director and CEO and whatever's in the middle there. I don't know what they do. Are they necessary? I fucking doubt it.
Yeah. It sucks, and I really just feel for the people affected. I
Yeah.
think that at the end of the day, we can get as angry as we want, but that anger really just like dimmers down into just deep empathy.
Yeah.
Empathy? Empathy.
Empathy.
Empathy towards the studio, empathy towards the people.
Yeah. The developers. And yeah. It's like it's affected my desire to play the game in the last couple of weeks, you know? Like to be fair, like last week we did the last week of Act 2, and then it was like a day or two later this announcement came out. So like I was still current, I was still doing shit, and then it was like, oh well, fuck this, I guess. Like I honestly just consciously planned to like give myself a break and just be like, I'm gonna not touch the game for like a week. I'm gonna wait for the dust to settle on all of this, and then I'll see how that makes me feel. And I'm still not feeling great.
Which was probably a good idea because Wednesday was reset. We were planning to record on the Thursday, and then I think the Thursday afternoon the announcement went up.
Yeah. And I
And
basically said to you, like, I don't think I can be anywhere near the positive kind of goal that we set for ourselves with the show. And then this week came around, I was like, it's not better. We just have to do this.
And it's also one of those things that like last week we could have been like, layoffs suck, but they happen because it was fresh and we had no news.
Yeah.
And now we have all the
That's it.
other news and context around the layoff and his dog shit fucking explanation.
Yeah.
Whereas last week it might have looked like we were defending it a little bit because we didn't have the full story, but I'm actually happier that we put it off because now we can come in with our full fucking thoughts.
Yeah.
And then also
get out the guillotine. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
And by that I mean
straight from the path.
I was gonna say, that's what by that I mean straight from the path song Guillotine. Not
I should have wore my Stray from the Path fucking guillotine shirt today, huh?
But yeah, it's a tough spot to be in.
It sucks.
Because I know that like these people have lost their jobs, but their work that they did is still yet to come out. And like, you know, if I look back at where I've been in the last month, like I've been excited for what's coming up in terms of like fresh story, clean table, let's go, 10-year story is over, let's I don't know, try some new shit with the Vex. That's apparently what we're doing. But now it's like, the more that this sort of shit keeps happening, I don't know how long the game is going to exist. Like, at what point, because this almost felt like the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of like public sentiment around these layoffs, and like, is this where the tide turns to a point that they can't pull it back? And then what?
Yeah. And that was another thing too, is like we even had that discussion where we were like, we don't want to look like we're supporting Bungie in these times.
No, I'm supporting the individuals that lost their jobs and the individuals that remain that are doing the work that makes the game.
That's the hard part too. It's like, oh yeah, we could boycott, but then we're affecting the remaining developers, and also we've already paid for the product.
Yeah. Also, hey, a little bit of education from you for you watching or listening to this. A boycott only matters when the employees ask you to do it. When the people affected actually want that to happen. If you just decide to do that, that's not helping shit.
Looking at you, fucking pro-Palestine people who get angry at people for buying Starbucks. Starbucks isn't even on the direct boycott list, homie.
Yeah.
Also, staff need to be paid.
That's it. You're hurting more than you think you are helping.
I've seen a few people call for boycott, and it's just
all that does is accelerate the death spiral. Like, if you actually give a shit about this game, I mean, like, ideally shouldn't stop playing it, but I get taking a break for a bit and like trying to send something of a message, and like, you know, getting on social media and like saying something. They are definitely hearing this shit. If you kind of pay attention to DMG's tweets, like, the impact is landing. They get it. But are people like DMG and people at that kind of lower level of the company able to radiate that upwards in a way that matters? That's the question.
Yeah. And that's the hard part about game development too. It's like, it's so easy to boycott, but then you got to realize that this, like you said earlier, the stuff that these people have been laid off after, it's still coming out.
Yeah.
That narrative director she's already said there is still things I worked on coming out. So please engage with these stories that I've written.
Yeah. And to be very clear, like, some of these people that have been laid off have said, the people that are still there, I still have absolute faith in them. They are doing amazing work. Like, there is still good shit to come. So I still feel like some of the dust has yet to settle in terms of like, what is the kind of like ongoing state of the studio and the game.
And the laid off staff and the current staff are going to let you know. So
yeah,
just do what I've been doing and follow some of the laid off staff and even some of the current staff, because if shit hits the fan and there's movement being done to protest what's happening, you will know.
Yes.
And follow their protest. If the people at the studio say we're going on strike, we've had enough, stop playing the game, boycott the game, then do that. But in the meantime, continue to support the developers who are still there and the story writers who are still there and the artists.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got the final shape, because you've already paid for the fucking product. You boycotting it isn't going to do shit. They've already got your money.
Especially if you bought the season pass, which gets you like all the episodes as well. Like, you've already paid for it.
They've already got your Robux. Yeah. They got your Robux. It doesn't matter. They got your V-Bucks, dude.
Oh no.
Your IRL V-Bucks.
Yeah. They got my dollars. Shit.
My dollary dues.
My fucking dollary dues, dude. Yeah, I think also, like, to echo a common refrain that we have on this show, like, if you are finding yourself getting like really pent up about all of this, try stepping away. Like, honestly, play something else, invest your energy in stuff that isn't this, because just that like breath of fresh air sometimes is a godsend. Like, even in the last week, where I haven't actually launched Destiny in over a week, and it has really helped me like have time to try and think about what I really feel about this situation without like the conflict of trying to play the game at the same time, which feels like such a first world problem to be talking about. But like, I want to play the game because I enjoy it without the guilt of like, well, not guilt, but, you know, like, without that thing in the back of my mind that is saying like, fuck this studio a little bit. And like that I don't think is where I will land eventually, but like it still just all feels a bit weird. So I've stepped back and I'm like, I'm gonna go play some other games, right? Like I found some early access game that is essentially Slay the Spire but tower defense. Shout out Ember Ward, I think it's called. That game's sick, and like it was pretty cheap, and it's sunk a bunch of hours into that. Got into No Man's Sky again. Like there's good
I
shit
saw
out there.
that
Yeah,
the other day. I was like, oh,
I started a fucking creative mode playthrough, and it's like cool. I don't have to worry about money. I'm just gonna go ham. I'm gonna get a crazy spaceship, load it up with guns, and just like go out and do stuff. It's good as hell.
I've been playing Good Pizza, Great Pizza, and also Fortnite.
Okay, I need to know what Good Pizza, Great Pizza is. This is not what this show is, but I saw it pop up on Steam. I'm like, what are you playing?
I've been playing Fortnite.
No, what is Good Pizza, Great
friends.
Pizza? What is Good Pizza, Great Pizza?
It's a pizza making simulator. With a really cute art style.
I hoped that you would say it's a pizza making simulator, but I didn't know what that would mean. Like, I don't know where to go from there.
We in our error code pizza, we only talk about Good Pizza, Great Pizza. So essentially what it is, it's a little indie game, and you buy a pizza shop.
Okay.
And then you make orders. But sometimes the orders aren't straightforward, and then you slowly unlock all of your toppings. So sometimes they'll have slang words for pizzas, and you gotta figure it out.
Oh no.
So like, there's one of them that the guy is like, "I'll have a cheese pizza, just the fruits." So he wants like
tomatoes,
tomato,
pineapple?
eggplant.
All of them.
Yeah, tomato, eggplant, pineapple, capsicum. Like things that are technically fruits, but we call them vegetables. There's another.
Vegetables is a made-up concept. Everything is a fruit.
Everything is a fruit. fruit, legume, or root.
Is that like an
everything is a tuber?
Is that like, what do you say, fruit, legume, or root?
Yeah.
Is that like a highbrow version of fuck, marry, kill?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a
no,
fruit.
that joke is not good enough to warrant me taking that much time to get it out.
As a queer fruit.
Legume.
Oh, root. That's all it is.
Okay.
And then you make money and you get tips, and you decorate your pizza parlor to get more people to come in and give you more tips.
Okay.
And then there's little like side quests. So like there's a homeless man who keeps asking for pizza, and then if you keep giving him the pizza, he does a favor for you, and he may or may not sabotage your competitor.
Okay, I might check this out. It's reminding. Have you heard of a game called Cook Serve Delicious?
Yeah,
they've made like 3 of them.
It's got that vibe.
Yeah, okay, because that is one where it's like you are running a restaurant and you buy your machines, you decide what's on the menu, but like when you play on PC, every ingredient has a different like letter key on the keyboard that corresponds to it. So if you get good at this game, you are just essentially touch typing and smashing out orders, and it is really satisfying.
And then the other end of the indie dev scale is so I've been playing Good Pizza, Great Pizza, and then I've been playing Mortuary Assistant, which is a morgue simulator.
I was gonna say, like, you've done that IRL. How accurate is it?
It's Good Pizza, Great Pizza, but for dead people. So you get your dead person.
Let me get a corpse, all the fruits. Stop burying your gays.
You cremate them. Damn it. So you basically it's Good Pizza, Great Pizza, but a morgue.
Okay.
You get your body in, and then you get the wishes of the deceased's family, and then you have to embalm them and do their makeup and present them in the coffin to the requests. Of the deceased family.
I'm just having really weird mental images of you putting all the corpses into T poses.
Yes.
Is that an option?
They said, I really want. Oh, sorry. It's called A Mortician's Tale, not Mortuary Assistant.
Okay.
Mortuary Assistant is the horror game. Mortician's Tale
Okay.
is a little simulator
All
game.
right.
You run a funeral home instead of a pizza parlor.
Sick.
And the toppings is just the makeup.
Toppings is the makeup. Okay. Well, hey, if you can't tell, we don't have a lot of Destiny gameplay to talk about because
we like it. We're on an indie game bender because fuck big corporations.
I mean, look, real quick, you've got 60 seconds to tell me what's up with Solstice this year because I haven't seen it.
Not a fucking lot. It is the same activity, and this time to unlock your special little doodad armor pieces, you have to do stuff to get alloys, and then if you get 500 alloy, you get the armor piece. Yay!
Cool. So they did the thing I was kind of hoping they wouldn't, which is not change a thing about Solstice.
They have made it more of a grind. Yay! Making it harder for me to hoard weapons. So this solstice, we may not get a classic Meckii weapon hoard. We will see. I will continue to play because I want the fucking space pirate treasure planet fucking looking ass armor.
Oh, yeah.
That is it.
Cool. Thank you. So that's been your Destiny.
Solstice.
That's been your Destiny chicken.
Somehow they managed to make Solstice more grindy. Yay. I'm not shitting on you if you developed that. It's just not great. You did good work and it all works real good, but boy, is it not a good way to do Solstice.
Yeah, I've kind of.
I feel so bad for the staff, and then I'm like, fuck Solstice.
No, I like. There's a part of like these seasonal events that it's a reason why I have kind of just not played them for the last like year or two or whatever. Like they kind of have.
Give me Festival of the Lost all year round.
Yeah, that's the one that I think has changed the most. But it is kind of like it comes around every 3 months, and it's like, oh, we're doing this again. Oh, nothing's changed. Okay, I'm gonna check out for 3 weeks.
What weapon will I hoard for the meme? That is the extension of my. Oh, actually, if there's armor that I like, I'll do it. But
yeah,
you know,
I just yeah. To your point, I don't think the grind for it is justified. I want to just get
to
it.
get your first piece of armor, it's something like 500 fucking pieces of alloy.
I don't even know what alloy is.
I've done like 4 rounds of Solstice of Bonfire Bash, and I've got like 100 pieces of alloy. Like, I don't know if I'm just doing it wrong, but like we also didn't get our pre-solstice primer like we normally do. That was replaced by the layoff announcement.
Yeah, I was gonna say like they cancelled last week's TWID.
Yeah, it was like Solstice was just dropped on us with this new unlocking system with alloys and shit from memory that hasn't existed before. No. I'll have to get you to look at it.
I don't think
Watch you come in and be like, Meckii, you fucking idiot. It's always been like that.
I don't remember alloys being a thing.
Yeah, like it's this new, it just feels grindier for a thing that people have been begging openly online for a refresh on. This is not what we meant. Like, please
just remove some of the steps to get the rewards or change the activity.
I grow weary of running in circles with my friends.
The children yearn for the armor.
Meckii yearns for the infinite forest. Put me back in.
Put me in Saint's tomb.
Meckii yearns for the eternal forest. Please let me in. Doesn't want the jack-o'-lanterns, please.
Oh dear. I am about tapped out on trying to talk about Destiny.
Yeah. So I think we should quick story stuff.
Sure. What have you got?
I was right the whole fucking time. It was Lakshmi.
No.
slash Maya.
It's Maya Sundaresh and wearing a Lakshmi mask, as far as I understand it.
I said that in the trailer. I said, I'll bet it's going to be Maya because of all these hints. Me, or it's Clovis. And then I was like, wouldn't it be funny if it was a speaker, but it's probably going to be Maya. I was fucking right. I'm so smart.
I don't think I ever like thought that's not going to be what it is, but it was more like
I was even going as far as being like, I went and listened to all the fucking Veil containments, and Maya Sundaresh talks about it like the symphony and the choir and the conductor and the orchestra and me, and even Chioma
Chioma
Miso.
Essie.
Even she was like, it's like a symphony. And I was like, hey, chillybin, that's really funny that they're talking about it in musical terms. You know who else did that other than the speaker? Maya.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the lady from The Expanse with the cool fucking voice is back. Happy about that. She's got a cool fucking voice.
We'll just have to wait 2 more weeks to see what Act 3 looks like
her
and where we
last
go
name
from
is
here.
Igladu. And we gave Saint just the most existential dread.
Here, absorb all of your dead memories. What?
Time to go into the Infinite Forest and get the quote-unquote proper Saint for this timeline. But spoiler alert, he's dead. Also, I will admit, I did get a little bit of the sads when you go to his tomb because he's like suspended and floating, and it's like, oh fuck, shit, he was right the whole time.
Yeah,
he ain't the right Saint.
I also the first thing I did was
hashtag teabag him.
Jump on him. Yeah, it's like, do you have collision?
I showed him my baby.
Yeah, good.
I went, hey, look.
Yeah, it was like, hey, you wouldn't download a dead man's trauma. What if I did though?
And then I was like, hashtag not my saint.
I didn't vote for him.
I love that this is a really heavy moment, and in the moment, very sad, very somber, felt really bad for Saint, but like the layoff happened, and now I'm just like,
haha, gonna teabag a dead man. No, I'm not. I love Saint.
Fuck my gay dads.
Yeah, I'm gonna fridge these gays real quick.
I don't even fucking care if you kill them anymore. Fuck you, Bungie. No, I do. I do, because a lot of people put their heart and soul into Saint and Osiris, but we're memeing. Yeah, it's just, it was so heavy, and I was actually so excited to fucking talk about it in this episode because, as we know, I fucking love this. I love them.
Yes.
I love them. Don't touch them. And then the layoffs happened, and I was like, oh, well, fuck, this kind of shit all over that huge pivotal moment in the story, huh?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't download a dead man's memory. Wrong. So I guess we have Saint back now.
Yeah, it did seem like there was a bit
quote
of
unquote the proper
there was
Saint.
kind of a turn for the Saint we have where it was like a little bit more full of vengeance. Like, no, I'm gonna fucking get him.
He's gonna start headbutting shit again.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's gone back to evil Saint.
Yeah, but there was also like a really
he just headbutts Mishrax because he's not caught up on the lore at all.
No, they end up like those dinosaurs that basically just headbutt each other for territory.
Mishrax doesn't know what's going on, so he approaches him, and Saint's just like,
I'm gonna fucking get you. Yeah,
he's racist again. Shit.
Oh no, it's Vinnie Jones, and that's why he can't play soccer anymore.
Fuck, we downloaded his racist memories.
Zinedine Zidane. Yeah, to completely fucking unwind there. There was also a really beautiful moment where like Saint is grappling with like reliving the memory of his own death, and then like and then that interaction with Osiris and being like, oh no, like this is actually still a thing, like there's definitely still that connection there, and like reinforcing that of like Saint having that moment of like, as much as he's been saying it's not me, he was like, no, but it might as fucking well be, essentially. Like, yeah.
But it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really
that's
nice.
what I mean. Like, there was so many amazing, gorgeous, beautiful beats this week. And like, the reveal was a little bit like, I fuck it, called it.
It's still
As
like
soon as she,
it's still a like pretty good dramatic reveal of
yeah,
like the
as soon as she
turn, and they're like
turned around,
Lakshmi.
and you're like, Lakshmi, and then she's like, no, it's Maya. And you're like, um, ah,
It's just
and
like mask off. No, you dumb bitch. It's me.
it's another Lakshmi mask. um, and then yeah, we got. I need to remember her name, but we got that sick as fuck voice actor back who like her voice is just so perfect for a villain / EXO.
Yeah, and just like really hamming it up with the pronunciation, the accent, like just like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's how Lakshmi good shit right there.
Well, that's her accent. She's Iraqi.
Oh damn! All right,
I'd have to search. She that's her accent.
right.
Yeah. So
Good accent, dramatic.
yeah, it's a very good accent, and she always gets cast as like dignitaries in sci-fi movies and stuff because of her voice and her accent. Um,
Real
Shore
time fact check.
Shore Ag Lu.
Cool.
I probably
Good job.
she's Persian.
Ah,
Iranian.
okay.
Yes. So that's her accent and her voice. They've just modulated over the top of it a little bit.
Right. Okay. Yeah. There's just something about it that like really stands out when those lines are delivered. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah. She's great. Really excited that she's back actually. I was really worried they'd do like the Maya and then give her like a different EXO voice or something, but the fact that they brought the quote unquote Lakshmi voice back is very, very good because it puts that little bit of like, space racist.
Lakshmi was always Maya. That's the thing. People keep forgetting. It was always her.
But they could have so easily just like done another voice actor and been like, it's a different EXO.
That's not how EXOs work.
But yeah, so the space racist is back.
Cool. Love that. And also the Vex just keep looking weirder and weirder.
They got that sick fucking Tudor ruffle now.
The big collar. Yeah.
It reminds me of Mighty Boosh when Vince is like, Tudor ruffles are in now.
I'm waiting for them to like stumble into Cyberpunk 2077 giant electric collars on jackets with those fucking neon lights inside the collar. Yeah, let's go there.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's like there was a lot of really cool story stuff that happened this week, and it just kind of got overshadowed by everything else.
Yeah.
Which sucks. I'm interested to see where it goes from here because now we know who it is, and she's made her objective clear. She's like, guess what? I'm here to be racist again.
Yeah.
Against all of the species.
Yeah,
turbo racism.
Her goal is essentially let's turn the entire galaxy into the Vex because fuck everything else.
Yeah. So she's back, but she's a turbo racist this time. It's not just the Elixni, it's everyone.
It's not just genocide, it's like I don't even know what the word for it is, but it's like we're forcing you to become this other thing.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. Assimilation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Assimilation to the point of genocide.
The way I explained it to a friend who kind of knows Destiny lore was, so Lakshmi is back, but it's Maya. So it's not Lakshmi. It's who Lakshmi is copied from. But this time, she's super racist instead of just a little bit racist.
It's me, super racism, man. What are we doing?
Yeah. So that was the big reveal, except I called it.
I feel like a lot of people did, but even with a lot of people calling it, it still kind of hit. It was still pretty fun.
It cinematically, yeah.
Yeah.
It was dope. Just basically the super villain fucking turnaround.
Yeah.
Just bum bum bum.
They're just putting Lakshmi center stage and being like, just ham it up, say some shit. Go off.
It's me. I have Lakshmi's face and a bigger collar. I have the biggest collar.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Domain expansion. Radial area.
Yeah. Okay. I think that'll do it for this episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to say.
I tried to make it upbeat at the end, but
Hey.
like I'm still pissed.
Hey, before we started recording, I said to you, this is going to be mostly fuck capitalism. And I think that held true. I'm going to say, hopefully, by the time Act 3 of this episode lands, we feel better about playing this game and we can talk about the story and not like be angry about it. But I can't make that kind of promise because capitalism is gonna capitalism, and that's just the system we live in. And trying to produce art in that system is a struggle at the best of times. So we'll see you next time, whenever that might be. Might not be next week. I don't know. We might get angry again. We'll see. I don't want to do another one of these episodes anytime soon. But we'll see. But thank you for being here. Thank you for being interested in our thoughts. If you're at this part of the episode, you've listened to a lot of it. Our thoughts, that is. So thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. I was just going to see if there was like a lyric from Guillotine from Stray from the Path that we could close out on, but no glory for gluttons.
That's right. No glory for gluttons, especially if you're gluttonous for exotic cars before 1980. There's no need for that. I mean, there's no need for gluttony. Anyway.
Modern problems, medieval solutions.
Oh, that's good.
Mob violence restitution.
And on that note, we'll see you next time.
Me casually calling for a riot at the end of the episode.
We'll see you next time. Maybe. I don't know. Fuck capitalism. Anyway, bye.